Okay, so welcome back once again to another of my Facebook Lives. And today we're going to be looking at Facebook lookalike audiences. So in the past, we've covered the saved audiences and custom audiences. So now it's time to have a look at the lookalike audiences. So I'm just going to start by going to my slides here. Okay, so I'm just start at the beginning. Okay, so Facebook lookalike audiences. Firstly, what is a lookalike audience? Then we're going to look at basically how to create them. And also then using lookalike audiences and exclusion audiences. There's a couple of extra things that you can do with the lookalike audiences to actually help you improve your targeting as well as expand your reach. Okay, so lookalike audiences. Well, let's start by, what are they? Well, the lookalike audience is really something that's based on your any one of your custom audiences. And what it's basically doing is using the Facebook pixel and algorithm to take some of the characteristics, behaviors, and attributes from your custom audience, and then basically extrapolate those across a whole country or multiple countries, looking for people who share similar, characteristics, attributes, and behaviors that also belong to your custom audience. So a couple of things to note really about lookalike audiences. Firstly, you can only actually create a lookalike audience from a custom audience. So you can't create them from saved audiences. So if you've got any questions about that or want to understand more about both custom audiences and saved audiences, then have a look at some of my previous videos. The second thing to say is basically the quality of your lookalike audience will actually all be completely dependent on the actual quality of your source file or your custom audience. So if you've got, say, a custom audience that's both large in number and typifies your ideal type of audience, say you're using a custom audience based from a customer file, and you've got a database of 2,000 or 3,000 customers, then obviously that will represent a really good quality of audience, both in terms of size of numbers, a couple of thousand, but also the type of person they are, because they are people who have bought from you, so they are action takers. So obviously when you upload that into Facebook and you create a lookalike, then some of those attributes and characteristics of the audience are of an action taker audience. So that will give you a far better quality lookalike audience. Whereas if you're creating a lookalike audience, say from just website visits or page engagement, and your custom audience size is small, then obviously that's going to impact the quality of your lookalike audience. And the third thing was really when using the lookalike audiences, sometimes it's very useful to just use the lookalike audience as it is, but sometimes it's good to actually combine it with an exclusion audience. And I'll show you exactly what that means in a minute. And it's also it's good to also use lookalike audiences, even if you're not, even if you're more local marketing and not looking to target the whole country. Because what you can do is take your initial file, create a lookalike, which obviously expands it in numbers, but then use some of your geographic parameters when you create your ad set to bring that number down and constrain it to the actual target area you want to look at. Okay, so let's go over now and look at the actual website of it. So as before I've said, easily you can get to this your page on your ads manager by clicking the down arrow there, and you go to manage ads. And then when you go to that manage ads, you effectively drop into your ads manager, which is this page here. And then by clicking on this area here, we go under the Ads Manager. We can then select Audiences, which I'll do now. And once that loads, okay, we can see our audiences here. And obviously creating the audience there is that simple step then of creating a lookalike audience here. And once you click onto that, as I said, this is about choosing your source. And as I said, you need to select custom audience or a specific page. You know, your Facebook page can be the source. But obviously, probably some of your other custom audiences will probably be a better data source for you. And then you can obviously type in whatever country you want, and also into regions. Now, the final element of this is actually the match size. So what it's doing here is looking anywhere from 1 to 10% of the country population. Now, obviously, the higher you go, you can choose to make your audience bigger and more based on a larger percentage. But obviously, what that's doing is probably diluting it, because unless you've got a massive custom audience to start with, it's going to be less and less representative of your target audience the more you try and expand that. So generally, always just leave that at 1%, and obviously you can give it a name. Now, as you can see here, I've created different lookalike audiences. So what I had here in this case, I actually had a customer list of people who opted in to a particular course of mine, which gave me a list of about 1,500. And then I created a lookalike audience first for just UK audience, and then secondly, the US. I've created them separately so I can actually target specific campaigns at the different countries, but I could combine them together. You know, equally, I've created lookalike audiences from video engagement. So people who've watched a certain percentage of my videos, I've created a lookalike from that. I've created a lookalike from a specific web page over a 60-day period. I've created, based on whole website visits, anyone visiting my website at all, using multiple countries. And you can see I've done it from page engagement as well. So you can create lookalikes on lots of different sources, and obviously the more custom audiences you've got, the more lookalikes you've got as well. You know, and as with all these things, it's really just a case of once you've built those custom audiences, once you've built them, the lookalikes, is then really going and starting testing them and see which ones actually give you the best results, not just in terms of engagement, but actually an action taker audience. Now, just a couple of things where I said with using those lookalike audiences, and in terms of what you can do at your ads manager level, here's a particular campaign that I've just really started. But at the ad set level, I've used here a custom audience, but then obviously I could exclude a certain audience as well. Now, this might be useful because if I want to target people on about this new program, the 6-Week Guitar, with my lookalike, what I want to do is I want to actually exclude the actual source file, the people who are actually already on the database, to make sure that obviously I'm not putting the same ad in front of people who've actually already either opted in or purchased from you. So it's a great way to start with a lookalike and then really exclude the initial source file to make sure you're not crossing over with it. And as I said, the other way is that if you're doing more localized advertising, then you can still use a custom audience and then a lookalike audience. But then obviously when it comes down to your particular locations, you can then constrain it to wherever you want it. So it'll start to reduce it back down to where you from where you started from. Okay, so really that's all there is on the, just close that. That's all there is on the Lookalike Audiences, very sort of straightforward. But as I said, if you want to, if you're not really ready at the stage for doing lookalikes because you haven't got the custom audiences, then go and check out my video on the saved audiences and pick things up from there. Okay, so I hope that's been useful. If you've got any questions, do leave me a comment or just connect with me on Messenger, and I'll be delighted to help you wherever I can. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks very much indeed for watching, and I'll speak to you again really soon. Bye for now.